Hi guys, so today I'm going to be doing the A to Z book survey, and I was tagged in this tag by Megan from Reading in the Sunshine, and it's basically a tag that goes through every single letter of the alphabet and you have to answer a bookish related question to that letter of the alphabet. So I've got the laptop here, which is why I'm looking over to see what the questions are, but the first question is the author that you've read the most books of. Now this was a difficult question for me because I have loads of favourite authors and I've read all of their works, but some of those authors have obviously written loads of books and some haven't. So this was kind of difficult to think of the one I read the most of, but I went for Patricia Cornwell because I absolutely love her books and I've read quite a lot in her Scarpetta series. I haven't finished it yet, but I've got most of them read. And this is the first one in this series, and if you haven't read any of these, then I really recommend you do because it's absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to go for Patricia Cornwell is the author that I've read the most books of. The second question is best sequel ever. Now, the majority of books I read are standalone books and they don't have sequels, so this was a really hard question that I had to think quite a long time about. But I decided to settle for a book that was written by a chick lit author and was a sequel to another book, because you don't often find sequels in chick lit, but I managed to find this one, and this is Johnny Be Good by Paige Toon. I really liked the sequel after her first one called... Oh no, I've done this completely wrong because the sequel is called Baby Be Mine. This is the first book, Johnny Be Good. The sequel is called Baby Be Mine by Paige Toon, and Baby Be Mine is the best sequel to this book. So yeah, definitely worth reading. If you haven't read Paige Toon, then do Johnny Be Good and Baby Be Mine, which is the sequel. The third one is currently reading. Now at the moment I'm reading Something from Tiffany's by Melissa Hill, and I'm only, not very far in, I'm only 154 pages in, so about kind of third of the way. I'm actually really loving this. I haven't read much Melissa Hill before. The first one I read was A Gift to Remember, which is a book that she's just recently published, and I really enjoyed that, so I've decided to give this one a go because I just want to kind of see some more of her work because I really enjoyed it. Next question, the drink of choice while reading. Now, I'm not very exciting, probably just a glass of water or, you know, a hot chocolate. I don't really tend to do kind of drinking or eating when I'm reading because I really like to focus on what I'm doing, so probably, yeah, just a glass of water or maybe a hot chocolate or a coffee. The next one is e-reader or physical book. Now this was kind of difficult because I love an e-reader, but I just love a physical book more. I do have an e-reader, but it's broken, which is always good. I think it's here somewhere. Yeah, it just has completely decided to stop working, and has frozen on a book I was reading, which is always fun. So I'm not really sure how to fix an e-reader, so I've definitely go for a fiction book because if I'm reading a fiction book, I mean a paperback book, because if I'm reading a paperback book then it's not going to freeze, it's not going to stop, and I can keep reading, which is good. Next question, a fictional character you probably would have dated in high school. Now I do love myself a bit of Mr. Fitz from Pretty Little Liars, so I would have to say Ezra Fitz. He is a teacher, but I probably would have wanted to date him anyway, so I'm going to go with him, and he is, oh gosh, falling everywhere. He is Aria's professor in Pretty Little Liars series, and he is absolutely gorgeous, and I would definitely have wanted to date him when I was in high school. The next question is, glad you gave this book a chance. Now this is hard because there's a lot of books that I've read recently that I'm so glad I gave a chance to, but I'm going to choose this one because this book I was really reluctant to read because it's a genre that I'm not interested in, or I wasn't interested in. And it's kind of a book that I was like, it's probably just going to be a bit rubbish, but I'm so glad I gave it a chance because it's probably one of the best books I've read this year. And that is Richard Madeley's Someday I'll Find You. And oh my goodness, this was just incredible. And if you haven't read it, then please read it. It's just amazing. And I'm so glad I gave this book a chance. And yeah, perfect book. The next question is Hidden Gem Book. Now this was difficult as well because there's loads of books I've read that I don't really hear a lot of people talk about, but I had to go for this one because I cannot believe that people hardly talk about this book because this is one of the best books I've ever read. And this is called This is a Love Story by Jessica Thompson. This is a love story by Jessica Thompson, and I absolutely adore this book and I could read it a million times over, and I'm really surprised I don't really hear a lot of people talk about it or blog about it, which is strange because it's so good, and it's probably one of the best chick lit books that I've ever read in my life, which, I mean, is, you know, quite a big thing to say, but it's amazing. So definitely read this, please, if you haven't already. Important moment in your reading life. Now this has got to be the day or the night or whenever that I read The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Now, my reading life is pretty long because I've read since I could read, but the day that I read this, my whole world, I know this sounds really cliche, but it kind of turned upside down, and I was just in awe at the power that a book could have over me, and the way that I felt once I finished this was just incredible, and I had so many emotions, and I didn't know what to do with myself. I just was so completely lost in the world of these characters. So this was a major turning point for me because it kind of opened my eyes to the fact that books can genuinely have an emotional impact on you and have really massive significance in your life. And this was one of those books I just read and I was like, I don't know how I would have lived the rest of my life without reading this. And oh my gosh, it's just incredible, and I love this book and I rave about it so much, but please, please read this book, it is incredible. The next question is just finished. Now, I've just finished Summer of Surrender by Zara Stoney, which is an ebook, which is published by Harper Impulse, and that was incredible. A review will go up for that very soon, but yeah, that was really good. The next question is the kind of books that you won't read. Now, this is really hard because it's not that I won't read them, it's just I don't really understand them, and that's kind of sci-fi and fantasy genre. For some reason my brain just doesn't kind of get sci-fi and fantasy, and I just kind of can't suspend my disbelief, and I just constantly find myself questioning things and going, well, why did that happen? Why is this happening? Why is that not happening? So yeah, the kind of books I kind of steer away from are sci-fi and fantasy. Next question is the longest book you've read. Now, I don't really tend to read long books as such, but I found this one, and this was kind of the thickest book on my shelf, and it is 19 Minutes by Jodi Picoult, I don't know how to say her name, but yeah, this is quite a chunky book. I think it's about 580 pages, which is a lot, but yeah, this is an amazing book, and I read this really, really quickly. I think this is probably my favourite Jodi Picoult out of them all. I mean, I do like My Sister's Keeper, but I think this one for me is probably the best, and I also love The Pact, but yeah, this one is my favourite. Major book hangover because of, now this was hard because I have book hangovers all the time, but probably the biggest one I've had in a long time was After the Rosie Project by Graham Simpson. Now this book is probably in the running for my top book of 2013, and I was so happy when I got this book, and I was so happy because I've got a signed copy. He signed it for me, and oh my goodness, this book just absolutely killed me. It was funny, it was emotional, it was happy, it was sad, it just had everything that you could possibly want in a book. It was well written, the characters were good, the pace was good, oh, it was just fantastic. And if you haven't read this book, then I think you should, because this is going to definitely be in my top 10 books of 2013. So yeah, worth reading, and definitely going to have a massive hangover after you finish this book. Next question is the number of bookcases you own. Now, I own 3 bookcases. The one behind me, which is my TBR bookcase, so all the books on here I need to read. Then I've got another bookcase at the bottom of my stairs, which is a really, really tall bookcase that is double stacked, so it's got 2 books per shelf, so it's like 2 books back, if that makes sense. So that's nearly full as well. And then just over here to the side of me, I've got some more shelving, and I've got loads of books stacked in there as well. So yeah, 3 bookcases. And then they're all nearly full, so I need a new one soon. And I think my dad's going to kill me because he said he'd never buy me another bookcase, so whoops. The one book you've read multiple times. Now this one was difficult again, but I went with The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks. I've read this so many times, and you can tell by the fact that the pages are just completely bent and it's a bit broken. But I think after I'd read the book and I'd seen the film, I just kind of go to this book whenever I want a bit of a pick-me-up, whenever I kind of want to feel happy, because obviously the book is inherently sad, I guess, in the fact that it's about a woman who has Alzheimer's and she's losing her memory, and her husband tries to tell her the story of their lives together so that she can come back to him and she can remember him. So it's kind of sad in that sense, but it's also really happy because you find out about their whole love and life before, you know, they got old, and it's just fantastic. So yeah, I've read this book so many times. Oh, nearly there. Next question is your preferred place to read. Again, I can kind of read anywhere as long as there's not loads of background noise. I love to read in bed, I love to read on the sofa, I could read on the floor. I spent a lot of time this summer lying on my bedroom floor reading. Don't ask me why, I just did. But yeah, if I had to choose one place, I'd probably sit in bed because it's really comfy and cosy, and I love just snuggling up and reading a book. Quote that inspires you / gives you all the feels from a book you've read. This was really hard because I have, there's so many gorgeous book quotes I love. But I think I'll have to go with the cliched "and in that moment I swear we were infinite" by, or "In the Perks of Wallflower" by Stephen Chbosky, because that just, it just fills me with such hope and happiness, and it just gives me all the feels. The next question is your reading regret. Now this is hard because I don't really have many reading regrets, but if I had to say, it would be the fact that I didn't persevere with Harry Potter. Now, the reason I think I didn't enjoy Harry Potter when I was growing up was because it was a fantasy genre and I just kind of can't get my head around it, and I kind of wish I'd persevered with it, because nowadays so many people talk about it and cite it as their favourite book or the best books they've ever read, and for me I'm just kind of like, well, I never really had that. I never really got the Harry Potter kind of feeling and I never really enjoyed it. So that's kind of my biggest reading regret. I wish I had kind of read them all and then formed an opinion rather than reading the first two and giving up. So yeah, that's my reading regret. The series you started and need to finish is the Pretty Little Liars series. I started that and I've still got the other ones to finish here. So yeah, I need to finish that one. And I really want to finish that because I love the TV series and I love the first book as well. Next question is the 3 of your all-time favourite books. Now this was the hardest question out of them all because I have so many favourite books, but I went with my favourite 3 that I could think of like right now, and the first one is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, and I'm pretty sure most people who've read this would say it's one of their favourite books they've ever read as well, because John Green is just an absolute I can't even find the words to describe how amazing he is as a writer, and The Fault in Our Stars just takes his writing to a whole new level, so this is one of my favourite books. The second one I chose was The Husband's Secret by Liane Moriarty. Sorry if I said your name wrong. Now, some people have absolutely adored this book and some people have just not enjoyed it, and I don't know why, because for me this was the most thrilling and gripping book I've read this year, and I just can't see how people didn't enjoy it, but for me, yeah, this was one of my favourites, and I really wish that other people enjoyed it as much as I did. And I know some people have, but I know some people haven't, so this is kind of, I think, a bit of a Marmite book. You either love it or you hate it, but for me this was definitely a love book. And then the final book that I've decided to choose for my top 3 favourite books is the first Linwood Barclay book that I ever read, and that is Too Close to Home. Now, Linwood Barclay, if you don't already know, is my favourite author in the entire universe, because he just writes the most chilling and thrilling and twisty thrillers you will ever read in your life, and I love this book. This is kind of the book I treasure the most because this is the first book I ever read, and I've read this so many times since, and it never kind of gets old, and I always can't remember who did it, and then I always get like excited when I find out. So yeah, this is definitely one of my most treasured books and also one of my favourite. Nearly there, guys. You're an unapologetic fangirl for basically I'm unapologetic for all the authors that I love, but probably Linwood Barclay and Page Toon and kind of everyone really. I'm a massive fangirl of all authors, so I'm not apologetic for that at all because I love being a fangirl. Woo! Very excited for this release more than others. Now, I cannot tell you how excited I am. This book arrived through my front door about half an hour ago, and I just can't stop stroking it and looking at it, and this is the book that I've been looking forward to for the majority of this year, and it is Murray McFarlane's new book, Here's Looking at You. And you can probably tell by the massive smile on my face that I'm so excited about this book, and I cannot wait to go and read it, and I just want to stroke it and smell it, and it's so exciting. So yeah, this is a book that I've been waiting for the whole year long, so I'm so excited. I'm just going to have to put this down for a little while. I'm sorry, I love you. Worst bookish habit? Oh goodness me, probably judging your book by its cover. I love books, covers, and I love looking at covers, so if I see a book that the cover's nice, then I just automatically pick it up and want to read it, and if the cover's not so nice, then I probably kind of won't give it a second glance, which is really bad, but I guess that's kind of just a habit that I've had since I was younger, and it is a bad one, but I just love it. The next one is X marks the spot. Start at the top left of your shelf and pick the 27th book. I did that and on my bookshelf downstairs, and I came across Cupcakes at Carrington's by Alexandra Brown, and I love this book, and I love it even more because she sent me a signed copy, which just fills me with complete and utter happiness. This is again one of the big contenders for Book of the Year 2013. oh, it's just amazing, and I'm so excited that Christmas at Carrington's came out, and I devoured that one in a day, in an afternoon, and oh, it's just incredible. Please read this book, please. Sorry, I'm nearly there. Your latest book purchase. Now, I don't really buy myself books anymore because I'm so lucky in the fact that publishers send me books. But I think the last book that, when I say I purchased, I mean my mum bought me, and that was The Longest Ride by Nicholas Sparks. Now, I'm really frustrated because I still haven't finished this. I'm only, let's have a look, I'm only 18 pages in, which is really bad because I've had this for a long time. But yeah, this is the last book that I purchased, and I really can't wait to actually finish it, so that's that one. And the final book, here we go, is the Snatcher book. the last book that kept you up way late. Now, a lot of books keep me up late, but I think the last book that kept me awake to the point of actually being really tired the next morning was Close My Eyes by Sophie Mackenzie. And this is just an absolute corker of a book, and again, another potential book for the top book of this year. And this book, I just couldn't put it down, and I was reading, and I was flicking through the pages really quickly, and I was lying in bed, and my light was on, and I was just reading, and then I just kind of got to the end, and I was just like, oh, how am I supposed to live now I finish this book? And oh, all the feels, I love it. So thank you for watching this video. I apologise for it being quite long, but that was my A to Z book survey, and I'm going to tag a couple of people to do this as well, and I'm going to leave those in the down bar. But yeah, I hope you really enjoyed finding out about all my kind of favourite books, my reading habits, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. See you later. Bye!